Okay, completing the square. Now quadratic equations, like such as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So quadratic just means the power of 2, okay? Can be solved by completing the square. Now we need to try to make the left-hand side, which is on this one, left-hand side and right-hand side of the equation of to a perfect square. Now if you remember perfect square, the formula was something like this, okay? So x squared plus 2ax plus a squared. And if it's a negative, only the middle part is negative, the last is always positive. Okay, now important rule here is this. If you didn't know, please memorize. The last term, which is a squared here, is the square of the half the coefficient of x. So half of coefficient x. Now if you don't remember what that means, let's do this some example and then you will know after a couple of examples. Okay, example 1. Find the numbers that complete the square in each equation. So x squared plus 10x plus something, and it's going to turn into a perfect square. Now here it says half the coefficient, square of half the coefficient of x. Now what's the coefficient of x? It's 10. So I'm going to do half of that and I have to square it, isn't it? That's what it means. So square of half the coefficient of x. Half of the coefficient x is 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So I'm going to write 5 squared, which is 25. Okay, so the number that goes in here is 25, but it goes here is 5. Okay, because it hasn't really squared it yet, so it's a 5. Okay, so the answer to that is, I'm going to just rewrite this, plus 25, that equals x plus 5 squared. All right, so the next one will be, it's a negative. I'm going to, what did I say? The one that it's going to go into here is half of the middle term, the coefficient of x, and then square it, okay, which is 7, isn't it? Square it, that's 49, and it goes in here is a before the square part, which is 7. All right, are you getting some ideas now what we need to do? Hopefully you do, because we are going to do some questions now. Now this one's not really completing the square, just solving as well. So let's have a look at that. Now when you solve this, I'm going to go k plus 3 square equals 7. Now when it says solve in terms of solve for k, so I want it to be k equals something. That's my goal. So I'm going to get rid of the square part, equals plus minus root 7. Okay, and I want it to be k by itself, so minus 3, minus 3. So therefore k equals minus 3 plus minus root 7. So that's, so you will get two solutions for this. Okay, so remember, what is it? K is minus 3 plus root 7, or k equals minus 3 minus root 7. Okay, so that's what. Quadratic is the power of 2, so you expect maximum 2 solutions. Okay, next question. Okay, solve x squared plus 6x plus 7 equals 0 by completing the square. So let's have a look. I'm just going to go plus 6x plus 7 equals 0. Now what we can do, first thing we need to do is put this last term to the right hand side. Why? Because we're going to have to create new constant number for this future perfect square. Okay, so I don't really want to think about the one that we got. So I'm going to move on the side for the time being. So I've got plus 6x plus, it's half of coefficient and square it. Half of 6 is 3 and then square it. Now, do you remember this equation means it's balance. Whatever you add something on the left hand side, you got to add it on to the right hand side. So I'm going to add on there so that it will balance up. So in here I've got a perfect square of x plus 3 squared equals, here is what, 9 take away 7, which is 2. Okay, so I've got that. And now it says solve, so I need to solve for x. So x plus 3 equals plus minus square root of 2, and then minus 3 on both sides. Therefore x equals minus 3 plus minus square root of 2. Okay, so that's what I've got. Excellent. So next question. Let's put that one in there. And always put it too high. Okay, question 4. Solve 2x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0 and write the solution correct to 2 decimal place. Highlighter, highlighter. Okay, make sure you keep that in mind. Okay, now let's have a look. How am I going to solve this? Now, there's a couple of ways of doing this. I mean, obvious one is using the by completing the square, but you can also do by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so I'm going to show you both. So first is just easier way is just by quadratic formula. Which is, do you remember quadratic formula? Minus b plus minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So what's a here? You can just write a equals 2, b equals minus 3, c equals minus 4. Okay, so I'm going to put all that in here. I might just change the color so it looks better. X equals minus 3 plus minus 3 squared minus 4ac all over 2 times 2. So I'm just using that with this. And if I tidy it up a little bit, I'll get 9 plus 32 over 4. Okay, and that will give me 3 plus minus 41 over 4. Now that is 3 plus 41 over 4, or 3 minus 41 over 4. Now put that one in your calculator, and 2 decimal place you'll get 2.35, and this get minus 0.85. Okay, so that's when you use quadratic, but since we're using completing the square, I'm going to do the completing the square here. So let's have a look. First thing first, what did I say about the completing the square? First thing first is 2x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. I'm going to move my constant to the other side. And something you have to remember is to use completing square, if it's not monic, you need to make it into monic. Okay, so at the moment it's not monic. So to make it into monic, I do divided by 2. So I'm going to do divided by 2 I'll get 3 over 2x, and then divided by 2 will be 2. Okay, so I've got that, and then I'm going to have to think about halving this and then square it. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit thinking to do, which is always good. So 3 over 2, halve it and square it. Okay, so that's, what does that mean? So it'll be 3 over 4, square it. Okay, so I'm going to do plus 3 over 4, square it, equals 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. I have to add exactly the same amount on the right hand side as well as the left. So that is now my perfect square minus 3 over 4 squared. Okay, and then this one is what, 2 plus 9 over 16. So 2 plus 9 over 16. If I do that, I will get, if you put in a calculator, 41 over 16. Okay, then now it's easy part. So x minus 3 over 4 equals plus minus 41 over 16. And then this one, I can make it into a little bit more simpler, over 4, isn't it? Square root of 16 is 4. Now x equals, I'm going to plus 3 over 4 on both sides. I'll get 3 over 4 plus minus root 41 over 4, and I'm going to put this together as 1. And again, that is same as what we got from using the quadratic formula. And oops, can't see. That will be 2.35 minus 0.85. Okay, so that's what we got. That and that. Okay, so the last 2 parts for the question. Okay, so the next 2 questions is just practicing when it's not monic. Okay, so first step is 3p squared plus 2p equals 8. I'm going to move this minus 8 to the other side. Okay, so that's not too bad. And then I need to make it into monic, so divided by 3. So it'll be p squared plus 2 over 3p equals 8 over 3. Alright, now what do we have to do is half of the coefficient and then square it. So this one. So what I'm going to do is 2 over 3 times half and square it, which is, can cancel it, easy, 1 over 3. So now I've got p squared plus 2 over 3p plus 1 over 3 squared equals 8 over 3 plus 1 over 3 squared, because whatever you add on the left hand side, you got to add right hand side. So now that's my perfect square, p plus 1 over 3 squared, and this one is what, 8 over 3 plus 1 over 9, which will be, if you put that in a calculator, that's what I'm going to get. Okay, so from here, plus minus 25 over 9, which is plus minus 5 over 3, because root 25 is 5, root 9 is 3. So I'm taking 1 over 3 on both sides, then I will get p equals minus 1 over 3 plus minus 5 over 3. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Therefore, p equals plus 5 over 3 or minus 1 over 3 minus 5 over 3. Now, we can put this p equals, if I calculate that, it will be 4 over 3 or if we calculate that, it would be minus 2. Okay, but I think if I want to keep it as a 2 decimal places, I'll get P equals 1.33 or minus 2, because that one I can't do, just integer. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, the last one. So I'm going to keep it exactly the same way. So 2n squared plus 3n equals 5. And then I'm going to make it into monic by dividing by 2, n squared plus 3 over 2n, 5 over 2. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to halve it and square it. And what do I get? 3 over 4 squared. So here, plus 3 over 2n plus 3 over 4 squared, 5 over 2 plus 3 over 4 squared. Okay, and then that's my perfect square, and plus 3 over 4 squared equals, now this is what, 5 over 2 plus 9 over 16, and if I put it together, using calculator if you wish, I'll get that. And that looks really good because it's a square number, so we're going to have a little bit simpler answer to that. 4 equals plus minus 49 over 16, which is 7 over 4. Yeah, because root 49 is 7, root 16 is 4. And then I'm going to take away 3 over 4 on both sides. It'll be n equals minus 3 over 4 plus minus 7 over 4. Okay, so basically it'll be, what is it, 3 over 4 plus 7 over 4 minus 4 over 4, which is 1, minus 10 over 4, which is minus 5 over 2, which is minus 2.5. Okay, so therefore n equals 1 or minus 2.5. That's what it is. Excellent, well done.